A new and very useful feature that we've got in Caddie 20 is the following: the ability to edit through viewports. In other words, in viewport editing. As you can see from my model space, I've got a drawing over here. If I move over to the sheets, you will see I've got a couple of viewports currently set up. Now, the one thing that I want to emphasize is if you select a viewport and you go to object properties, you will see that you have the ability to scale lock the viewport. What does that mean? It means if the scale is not locked and you edit through that viewport, scrolling your mouse will actually zoom and pan that specific viewport. In other words, the viewport scale will change. So if I scale lock that viewport, if I turn that to yes, editing that viewport will now prevent me from scaling or panning within a viewport. Now this is very useful because you can set up your drawing, have your viewports at specific scales, but when you work through a viewport, the scale won't change. Now any existing drawing that you open that comes from a previous version of Caddie, the viewport's scales will not be locked. So what you need to be aware of and need to do is once you open an existing drawing, you need to go to File, Drawing Utilities, which has an option where you can lock or unlock all viewports. In other words, lock or unlock all the scaling in all your viewports in this current drawing. So once I click on that, I can, for instance, just tell Caddie it should lock all the viewports in the drawing. Once it's gone through all the viewports, they should all now be locked. In other words, when I edit through a viewport, the scale won't change. Okay, but how exactly do you edit in a viewport? If I zoom in onto a viewport like this, I'm going to close object properties. You will see it's a normal viewport which you can select as a whole. But if I double click on a viewport, you will see the outline turns bold, which means that viewport is now being edited. Now if I, for instance, take text like that and I move it around and I take a line and I copy it, you will see that I'm now busy editing inside the viewport. The same way I can, for instance, go to a door like this, select the door, rehang the door, so I can change its direction, etc. If I really want to, I can take something else, I can copy it in there, etc. So you can obviously see some changes have been made. Once I'm done editing a viewport, how do you end the editing of that viewport or through that viewport? You just double click outside that viewport area and you will see automatically all your viewports will update it with the same information that you've added through that particular viewport. Right, how does that affect my model space? Well, if I go to my model, you will see that all the changes I made in that particular viewport also automatically updated on my model space as well. So that is a very useful feature. Instead of having to go to model space and change things there, edit things, add things, you can directly add or edit them through your viewports, and all associated viewports and your model space will automatically be updated as well.